We had a question come up about preparing for the Russian kettlebell certification. It used to be called the Russian Kettlebell Challenge. There's a problem with the RKC weekend, and it's the 100 swing. I'm sorry, it's the 100 snatches. You have to snatch. For gentlemen, it's usually the 24K bell 100 times in a 5-minute period. And the problem is this thing destroys a lot of people's mental preparation because they are so focused in on this event that they miss the fact that they're supposed to be there to be instructors with kettlebells. So it's an interesting thing, and even as I say it out loud, I still get myself caught in the complexities of this. I'm a moderate when it comes to most things, and so there are people who think we should just throw the thing away, and I agree with them 100%. And there are people who say no, we have to have some standard, and I agree with them 100%. But what happens is when you're training for the certification, is that your mind, your focus becomes getting this thing done. And people will drop out of the cert a week or two ahead of time because they tested at their home gym and didn't get the 100 in 5 minutes. So they say, forget it, I'm not going to come. And they miss the chance to learn kettlebells the right way. My record for helping somebody is one I did in Ireland. And the guy came in, he said, all I could do was 78 in 5 minutes. And I gave him 1 or 2 little points about the snatch, and he easily finished the test. He told me later on, I had the wrong mindset. I go, well, yeah, I know. Real simple, let me summarize as best I can. Most people think you count a snatch like this. Swing, lockout, swing. That's 1. I think you're wrong. This is so funny. This is just not that. To me, this is like one of those things that once you understand what I'm saying, it's eye-opening. No, instead, when you do 100 swings, the first one is swing to lockout, and that's the last time you count it like that. The swing is from the lockout, you aggressively bring that bell down to your zipper so that you get this massive bow and arrow pre-stretch, and then it snaps back up into the overhead press, the way to walk, the lockout position, okay? If you think that way, that you snatch from here down, the snatch goes top down versus bottom up. This guy told me, what is it? Is that 22 extra reps he got from just changing his mindset? So when Brian puts this program up, the number one thing I want people to get across is the snatch test just has to be another part of the certification. It can't be the bugaboo. It can't be the boogeyman. It can't be the Grendel. It can't be the monster under the stairs or under the bridge. And yet it is for most people. So one of the things I recommend is that and this is coming from a track coach, folks. If I tell you to run 400 meters, the first time you run 400 meters, it'll take you about 80 seconds. With training, and we'll get that down to 70. So you're a 14-year-old, 13-year-old, and you're in 70 or 69, okay? Next year, you go out for cross country or football, and then we show up early in the season. We get you in shape. And as a sophomore, we bring you down to 54, maybe 53. Next year, junior, we get you to 49. If you're in Utah, you're probably the state champion or right there. And if you take it serious as a senior, you get down to 47 seconds, would allow you to walk on to most major college universities in the United States. Not a scholarship, but a walk-on. What you might have missed is this. 400 meters never changed. You might have, you got older, more mature, developed. 400 meters never changed. So when I coached the snatch test, it's 100 snatches. It's not 78. It's 100. So one of the first things I have you do is we'll take as light, a normal person, a male, we might give them an 8-kilo kettlebell and have them do the 100 snatches just go ahead, do 100 snatches. Well, that's pretty light. And then we assess one of 3 things. Is it your lungs, which is me? It's always my lungs. Is it your buns? Do you have a strong enough swing? Or is it your guns? Do you have a lockout? If it's your lungs, that's actually pretty easy if you give us time. 1 or 2 days a week, we're going to have you do 1, 2, or 3 sets of 100 reps in the snatch with very light bells. To get used to, it's like running the 400 meters. If you can only run 365 meters, no one cares because the race is 400. The race is to 100. If it's your buns, you don't have a very good swing, and we have time, we might put you on the 10,000 swing challenge. Now, at the end of the 10,000 swing challenge, we'll test you again. You might just destroy that 100 reps. And if it's your guns, that's when we'll have you do waiter walks, maybe around, my block is about 400 meters, lots of clean and presses to really train that lockout and the strength to hold that lockout. Interesting, in my time with the people I tend to work with hands-on, lungs are always the issue, and that seems to come around the fastest. If it's buns, and that's usually not people who train here, generally something as simple as a 10,000 swing challenge cleans it up. And if it's guns, which almost universally is people that I either talk to on Skype or meet up with in some corner of the United States for a little bit, they need to do lots more presses. I've also had people, I don't want to brag, but like me, who nailed a test the first time they tried it, because this, when you've been lifting as long as I have, it's kind of easy to do a test like that. I breathe hard, I sweat like a pig, the salt gets in my eyes, I make weird sounds, I probably swear a little bit when I'm done, but I can do it the first time. One of the things I'd warn someone like myself is, that's great, you did the one test on an entire weekend. There's other things we need to work with you on. For me, I was not a very good hinger. Being an Olympic lifter, I hinged coming up. I never had really hinged coming down. That might make no sense to anybody, but Olympic lifters tend to hinge correctly to snap the weight overhead. We don't really hinge on the way down. So I'd never really thought about hinging down. So for me, that was a glaring weakness. And there were some things like in the Turkish getup where I really just wasn't knitted together. My point is important on this. One of the things, and I strongly recommend this, is to expose yourself once a year to something. It could be something as simple as a Spartan race or a race of any kind or a meet. I've done in the last few years, I signed up for MoveNat, but then they canceled the event. I've done the Fit Rank certification, and I've done a couple of other certs too, where I show up like a student, spend the 2 days learning things. And one of the reasons I like to do that so much is it exposes my weaknesses. And it could be something like mobility, which was exposed to me about a year ago, my understanding of some other things throughout the time. But what's nice about going to a cert is that it kind of rips that fabric away. You have another set of eyes or 15 sets of eyes on you. The other day, someone was amazed when I talked about the fact that I have a personal trainer, Ben Fogel, and earlier than that, Buddy Walker. And I'm like, if you're a strength coach, you absolutely have to have a trainer, because I'll always, I hate to say fall back, regress to what I do best and never to what I do well. And oddly, what I do best sometimes technically is the worst stuff I do. I'm just a big engine and I can press all day, but that doesn't mean I press correctly. So one of the reasons you want to think about certifications, and the RKC is fine, FitRanks is great, MoveNet, there's lots and lots of them, is to get yourself a little bit exposed, to have another set of eyes on you, and that will change the way you train others and even work with your own gym and friends.